Hey, Nisi. Testing. Oh, I'm doing all right. I may have to cut my stream short tonight because I think we're going out to dinner here in a little bit, but we'll run. That's why I'm starting a little early because we'll run as long as we can. How's Nisi today? Hey, Corona Ken, how you doing, man? I couldn't really come up with a topic today, so I just figured I'd do questions and answers. We'll kind of leave it up to you guys how the stream goes. Hey, Beast Stag. Welcome to the stream, Victor. Oh, I've been okay. Uh, with my back, there's never really a great day, but well, I'm glad he got back, Nisi. Hey, Laura, welcome to the stream. I don't really have a topic today, guys. I just figured I would just run with question and answers or whatever you guys want to talk about. Hey, Sharon. Are you back at work, Nisi? How's everybody's fish and tanks doing? Catbox deep cleaning, huh, Nisi? Hey, Rymphonic, welcome to the stream, man. Yeah, catbox cleaning's never much fun. Got to watch out for that histoplasmosis, Nisi. And Laura, I hope the stream doesn't lull you back to sleep. It seems that we're starting to have less. Nisi says her new goldfish are settling in well. They're still a little skittish, but overall very well. Corona Ken says loving my new mollies, but needed to add salt, so plants are suffering. Yeah, that's always an issue with mollies. If you're going to add salt or if you're not going to add salt, plants don't do well with salt usually. Spicy says mine are awesome. Bacteria are blooming and babies are eating it. What kind of fry do you have, Spicy? Hey Guppy Crib, welcome to the stream. Hey Joel, welcome to the stream. Yikes, Laura. Well, congrats on the new job, but it sucks. If Diet Sunkissed will get me lit, okay. It's caffeine more than anything else. I'm trying to watch my girlish figure. Victor says, my fish seem well. I'm getting my third tank, a 20-gallon long tank, hopefully adding water Monday. Nice. Ah, baby mollies. Spicy. I haven't seen the videos, so I guess I need to go check that out. Guys, basically I have nothing for you today other than my normal banter, so it's basically questions and answers, and whatever you guys want to talk about, I'll try to chime in as much as I can. Joel, shredding for summer. Yes, those are lemon tetras, Ramphonic. This is the video that I was trying to render the last stream. Joel says, I have too many fish tanks and not enough time. I think I'm getting overwhelmed by this hobby. Well, that's kind of how this hobby goes, Joel. You figure out where your limit is and then you back off. Or you figure out some new way. I think Lucas finally reached that point. His whole existence is dedicated to his fish room, but it looks like that the last few months have just pretty much taxed him, so that's why he's finally setting up an automatic water change. I'm hoping that'll ease his issues a lot. Sharon says, I bought a beta koi female. It's so cute. Laura says, I'm trying to combat an outbreak of beard algae in one of my tanks at the moment. So annoying. There are a few fish that will actually eat beard algae. They're not coming to mind right now, but I'm sure if you look around you can find them. And most people tell me that they treat beard algae by spraying it with hydrogen peroxide, 3% hydrogen peroxide. Joel says, I make plans to reduce my tank count, but every time I end up with more somehow. Yep, that's kind of how it works. Yeah, Lucas Brett's, Ramphonic, if you haven't been following Lucas Brett's. Hey, Bob. Welcome to the Bob Show. Nisi says the mister said he'll reinforce the living room floor so I can upgrade the goldfish tank and have them all in one. That would be nice. Yeah, it's difficult to reinforce floors properly, so tell him to be careful with his engineering. Hey, doll.
Hello.
You got your antibiotics.
Yes.
Laura says, I was thinking about throwing some Amanos in there and see if they would get to work on it. They very well might. Bob's got a lot of experience with beard algae. He can probably give you a hand. Bob, how come you're not on a mountain somewhere? Is it raining where you live today? Corona Ken says, Spicy, that's a part of the reason I changed this tank to Molly's, and they are doing it. Yeah, Molly's will. Yep, Bob echoed what I thought he would. I just use H2O, hydrogen peroxide, on beard algae. Nisi says, Dwayne, my husband's built cabins and houses. He's an all-around knowledgeable guy. Well, what was it that they say on Red Green? If the women don't find you... maybe it's attractive. I can't remember how Red Green phrased it. The women don't find you attractive, let them find you handy. Spicy says, yeah, Molly's eat everything. Joel says, I wish I was where you are right now, Nisi. You're on 24/7 sun right now, correct? Yeah, the Alaskan sun is an interesting thing. H2O2 is hydrogen peroxide, and I think it's pretty critical that you look at the percentage too, because a really super high percentage on hydrogen peroxide can do damage, so you don't want to get too far out of line with it. Sharon says, somehow when I'm not looking, more fish end up in my tanks. Well, it's a good thing, Sharon. If your fish are breeding, then Spicy with the save. If the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Yeah, that's Red Green's quote. Yeah, I'm not sure how the native fish handle all that daylight with the northern sun. I've been looking for a photographer to help me figure out how to get functional with my camera. I feel like I've got all this knowledge in my head about taking photographs now and doing filming or video, but it just hasn't really clicked yet. When I pick up my camera, I don't know exactly what to do with it. And I've been watching The Angry Photographer. You guys can look him up. Evidently he lives in Lexington, which is not too far from me. He's a bit of a character, but I really enjoy the way he couches things. He doesn't pull his punches. And basically what he says is that if you go to a photography show, all the newbies and all the wannabes all run straight to the camera counters and the lens counters, and all the real photographers go straight to the lighting counters. He says photography has 90% lighting. And I told him that while I understood that on a mental level, that I'm not functional enough with my camera yet to feel like it makes sense to me. So I've been casting around trying to find a photographer to help me learn how to take pictures. And then I noticed on a car right down the street a professional photographer advertisement stuck on it. So I went and knocked on the guy's door, and sure enough, he was a photographer. And so I found me a photographer 2 houses down, and I got him to come in. And he brought his D500 Nikon camera, which, being in the state that I'm in, I kind of lusted after, but it's way more money than I can afford. So I enjoyed fiddling with it a little bit, but he basically took my camera and started shooting with my lenses. And he said, "Hey Charles, welcome to the stream, man." And he said, "You know what your problem here is, Dwayne? Why you're not getting really good video and pictures? And I said no, and he said, it's the lighting. And he went back home and came back with a big LED light that he sticks on his camera, and he stuck it on mine, and he got some phenomenal pictures out of it. So I bowed my head and recognized that even though I don't know how to use my camera well yet, that it's probably time for me to invest in some lighting. What was it, a can?
I don't know.
Something warmed up and expanded.
Something. I don't know what that was.
Yeah. You can search the world over, and what you need is often in your own backyard, Laura. Because I did get lucky that what I was looking for was 2 doors down. So I went ahead and ordered one of these camera mount LED 3200 Kelvin to 5600 Kelvin adjustable lamps. So maybe my videos and my photography will start to look better. I wonder if I could bring up one of his pictures. Let's see. Nope, I'm not going to be able to find them that way. No, I'll have to do that. Later. But he got some phenomenal pictures. Yeah, Spicy. I recognize that what I've been doing. I mean, up until I got this camera, this was my camera. It's an S6900 12 zoom Nikon Coolpix, and that's why I finally decided to go ahead and try to hunt up a camera, was that I just couldn't really get any kind of quality out of it. I mean, it did fine. Hey JW Aquarium, welcome to the stream. Guys, we're just basically shooting the Shinola today. I don't really have an issue or an axe to grind. I just and I may have to end the stream a little early because we're supposed to go out to dinner. It's our daughter-in-law's birthday. Well, now I wasn't quite that bad. Spicy says it took me 2 weeks just to get the thing to come on and focus. I think I was a little more functional than that. I figured out how to video myself pretty early on. I just didn't figure out how to do it very well. And Corona says, glad you got that figured out, Dwayne. Yeah, I learned a lot. I had hoped that he would come in and make me do everything so that I would understand what I was doing when I did it. You know, basically tell me what to do. Awesome. Charles says he just reserved his hotel rooms for Chicago Aquatic Experience. I reserved ours 2 days ago, and I did it on Expedia, but it said there were only 5 rooms left available, so I was glad I got in while I did. Charles, have you tried to get your tickets yet? And which hotel did you get at? Did you get it at the one where the the Aquatic Experience is going to be? Because I think that's the one we got. Let's see here. Renaissance Schaumburg Convention Center Hotel, Schaumburg. Well, I'm hoping I got the right one. Hey, Valley Fish, welcome to the stream. Texting my dad right now to tell him the dates and time. Bob is the one I mentioned, the Renaissance Schaumburg Convention Center Hotel, the one that's attached to the convention center where it's going to be at. We're going to drive. Honey, Laura is asking you, do you have any future videos planned?
Yes, I do. I'm gonna make one about lighting for aquariums and how fish see, or fish vision, whatever you want to call it. And I'm also going up to the Great North Woods of Michigan, and I'll be taking lots of pictures of mushrooms, and which is one of my specialties, and also any wildlife that I may see. So I'll probably be making a slide presentation out of that. So that's what I've got planned for early July.
Nisi says she's got to get going. Thanks for dropping by, Nisi. I hope you have a good day cleaning. Joel Gilliott wants you to please include why don't fish have eyelids.
Okay, I can answer that right now. Do you want me to answer it right
Sure.
now? Okay, well, fish don't have eyelids because eyelids were designed to spread lubricant over the eyeball. And fish are in water, and so they don't need lubricant to go across their eyeball to keep it moist, and therefore they don't have eyelids.
Did you hear that, Joel? Maybe I can put a little more light on you.
Did Joel hear me?
I think so.
Yeah, because we make tears and our eyelids spread those evenly over our eyeballs, and fish don't need that. They've got water there all the time.
Charles wants to know where the Friday night get-together is going to be, Bob. Yeah, I'm interested in that too. Has anybody been able to buy their tickets to the Chicago experience yet? Because I went on the page and it said available soon. JW Aquarium says just got some Cynodontis catfish and they need more love.
What kind of love?
Well, Cynodontis are usually pretty much able to take care of themselves. Bob says lunchtime for him. Talk to you later. Thanks for dropping by, Bob. Boy, I'm so washed out in this light here.
I used to have a great big old Cynodontis in one of my tanks when I was a young fish keeper, and that crazy fish, he attached emotionally to a red-tailed shark that was also in the tank, and he followed that crazy shark everywhere and about drove that shark crazy. When I took the shark out of the tank because it was driving him crazy, the Cynodontis looked like he was going to die. He just was so miserable that I had to put the shark back in. And it was kind of, I would give the shark a vacation for 2 or 3 days every now and then, but without that shark, that Cynodontis just would pine away. He wouldn't eat, he would stay in the corner and not come out. It was crazy. You hear about higher animals doing that, but actually this fish did it.
Yep. There's a lot of argument going on right now about just how intelligent fish are.
Well, I think some of them may be smarter than what we know.
Yeah, I think so too. Are you ready to go when they
I'm
show
all
up?
dressed up and
You want to come sit here in the chair and run this stream while I go get dressed?
okay. What will I talk about?
Well, we'll talk about whatever you want to do. My wife's going to take over the stream, and I'm going to go get dressed for dinner because at any minute the kids may show up and we may have to take off. Hey, David Minami, Minamani. Now, that's a hard name to pronounce. And basically we're just doing question and answer only, so you're just going to talk about whatever you want to.
Well, it's very possible I may not know the answer to something. At any rate, here I am. Some of you may not know I'm visually impaired, so I may have to squint at the screen. So if you see me squinting, you'll know why. Hello, everyone. I'm Elaine. I'm Dwain's other half. I hope to be the better half, but that's not always true. So how are you guys? And tell me, what's your favorite fish channel? It doesn't have to be this one, although it could be. But, and I know a lot of you have channels that you provide information and entertainment to people. Here's your chance to say that's your favorite if you'd like to. And start talking. In the meantime, until you start answering, I'll start talking a little bit about fish vision. I've been studying it lately. Some of you may not know that I'm a low vision specialist for humans, and I've studied low vision for a lot of years. And low vision means having some functional vision, 20/70 or less in the better eye. And so because I'm so interested in vision, I've been studying fish vision. Hello, David. Hello, Spicy. And so I've been studying fish vision because it started out when I started studying lights for aquarium, because I think that we don't light our aquariums appropriately. I think we use way too much blue light and not enough red light. But I wanted to be able to support that argument. And so I've been doing the research to support that argument. And of course, it became necessary in the course of that to study fish vision as well, to see how the light in our aquariums is affecting our fish. And oddly enough, fish see, well, that's not true. Fish don't see as we do. They have a different lens that makes objects a slightly different shape. But the way that their eyes work mechanically is very similar to our own. And humans, in the presence of too much blue light, go on high alert. You may not know it, but if you're sitting in a blue living room or den or somewhere, and you've got on your little handy dandy fluorescent light that is heavy in the output of blue waves, you are putting your body on high alert, and that might be a reason that you're not sleeping well at night. So I wondered if that was true of fishes as well. And I found out that it is true, that physiologically fish go on high alert in the presence of too much blue light. And so what do we do with that information? Well, for one thing, we stop turning on the blue lights at night to put them to sleep, because in the presence of those blue lights, which they call midnight lights, or sometimes they call them, fish time, sleepy by, or something, what they're really doing is putting the fish on high alert and not allowing them to sleep. It's just like turning bright lights on you when you're trying to sleep. So be aware of that when you're tempted to add more blue light to your aquarium. And by blue light, I mean anything that is above, what is it, 460, I think, nanometers per second. It's very, everybody has a physical and a physiological response to light, but fish are very, very sensitive, as you know, because they travel throughout some strata of water, and the upper strata, of course, have more blue light, but the lower strata have quite a bit too, because blue light travels faster than any other light, and so therefore it reaches lower in the water strata. So if you would think of levels of water like 2 feet down and 4 feet down and 10 feet down, blue light reaches farther than any of the others. And I know I'm troubled by the fact that we put things like stingrays in very shallow tanks with very, very bright ultra blue lights, and stingrays have eyes very much like our own in terms of their physiology, and they react to blue light the same way we do, which is that we only need about 2 hours of it per day, and anything else is going to bring about a negative physiological response. So I don't know if I'm boring you all to death here with this, but Dwayne told me to talk, and so I'm talking about one of the few things that I know about fish. Let's see, Laura says, I wonder if plants could react to the same blue light too. Could it put plants on high alert, if that's even possible? Well, that's true. That's true. Blue light does put plants on high alert. It tells them to grow. It tells them to make chlorophyll. And so does red light. And they actually need both. Plants aren't physiologically worn down by too much blue light, although if you're expecting blossoms and things like that, it could throw off their blossoming and fruiting schedules. So that's one way that they react in a negative way. Hello, Sergeant Tank. Hello, Fish Life. Hello, Joel Gillett. Joel says he could listen to 4 solid hours of this. Well, fortunately, we're not going to put you and your compatriots through that. But I'm always happy to share what I know and what I've learned from others. So Spicy says, so poke out their eyes when they won't be freaked out, and they will sleep better while we look at them. Gosh, Spicy, you always come up with such original solutions to things. Very original idea there. So when we put things in shallow tanks and shine bright lights on them for long periods of time, we're actually really stressing those stingrays and other things that we put in those shallow tanks. And even invertebrates can have negative reactions and not do their reproductive cycles and things like that. So I think these are things that aquarists need to look at, they need to study and be cognizant of, because we can't just go around assuming that more light is better and that blue light is the best, and that fish aren't affected by any of this. Fish are affected by everything in their environment, just as we are. And so I think we need to stop making assumptions that don't really have any scientific basis and start to study things. And one of the things I like about all you folks on Fish Chat is that you could help whenever we need to run an experiment to find something out. Everybody who wanted to could participate and could send the results in to whoever is doing the research. And then we could find some of this stuff out, and then we could actually take action with our fish based on facts rather than on just assumptions that have been made over the years. Charles says, "Hi Elaine, have you reached a verdict on the DFT blaster and standard LEDs?" Oh, I thought I sent that to you. I'm sorry, Charles. Was the DFT blaster that that set of lights that was reviewed by Corey? Is that what we're talking about?
Maybe he's talking about Dustin's lights. Remember those lights Dustin had that were as much red as they were blue? And
oh, the lights that have as much red as blue are pretty good, although I haven't really seen them to test them. And what I find in most of those arrays that have red and blue is that they still have far too much blue compared to the red.
You saw them at Dustin's seminar that we
Oh, he says I saw them at Dustin's seminar.
They were the ones that were on the plant tank that you got out.
Okay.
Got plants out of.
Yes, and so if I remember right, those did not have enough red to balance out the blue. If you heard Dwayne, he said I saw them at Dustin's presentation. So I don't think there's anything out there really that I've seen, and I've been looking, that has a good balance of blue to red. You probably need equal parts of blue and red. And you know, they laughed at my suggestion to have red gravel in the tank. I know they said, you know, friends don't let friends use red gravel. And I can see the wisdom in that, because red gravel is awful to look at. But boy, it sure would give your plants a boost if the light that bounced off of them became red light and lit the underside of the leaves. That's really what plants love. And I think it would be really, it would have a great effect, but I understand that it's not aesthetically pleasing, and it doesn't provide nutrients for the tank either. So that's another thing to consider. Yes, so Charles asks, so the standard and blasters both have too much blue LEDs, and yes, that's true. That's true. I wish I knew enough about soldering and could see well enough. I would just pull some of those blues out there and solder in some little red LEDs and have everything as I wanted it. But I have found that you can buy strictly a strip of strictly red LEDs, and I have one over my tank, and it will balance things out. So if you can find one, I think it's actually probably a plant light and not an aquarium light.
It's just a Marineland red LED.
Oh, Dwayne says it's a Marineland red LED. And it's got about maybe 30 or 40 little LEDs in it, and they're all red. And I use that, and it's not very big. It's only about maybe 18 inches long. And I move it around my tank. You know, I sort of think about my tank in terms of quarter sections, and I move it around every day or two so that every section gets some red light during the week. And that seems to work. Now here's the problem with adding more red light, is that you will get more algae. But I think it's worth the trade-off, and I'm finding what I need to do is to get myself some autosynclists, I think they're called, to eat the algae, and then everything will be fine. So,
and when you're saying algae, make sure to say brown diatomaceous algae.
Okay, I'm to say that's brown diatomaceous algae, and which apparently those cute little autosynclists love to eat. So I'm going to be investing in some of those, about 9 of them, to help me keep the tank rid of the brown diatomaceous algae, and then I think everything will be swimmingly great. Okay, Dion says, Spicy, that's a beautiful video you did the other day. Whitefish are cool. Oh, I'd like to see that. I guess I'll have to go to your channel, Spicy.
I think it's a video on mollies.
Oh, mollies, okay. So Dion says, this hobby is going way too far. It's becoming less fun and more with all this technical stuff. But it's fun coming together talking about personal vision. Well, that's true, and sometimes you can get weighed down by the technical stuff. And I realize that most of the stuff that I talk about is technical because that's what I know about. But in the end, we do have fish and aquaria because we like them and we enjoy them, and we want to enjoy the serenity that we get from our fish tanks. I read an interesting thing the other day that said that people who have aquariums and who watch their aquariums frequently have far less high blood pressure than people who don't. So we know that there's something about the aquariums that promotes serenity and promotes low blood pressure. So that's good to know. But my original point was that we do this because we enjoy it, and we want, if we find that we're not enjoying it anymore because it's getting too technical, then we need to step back and look and see what we need to do in order to regain our enjoyment of the hobby. And getting too technical can certainly take some of the fun out of it. I realize that. So forgive me for doing that, but enjoy your hobby as best you can. So Spicy says, I want a technical explanation of how they know for a fact that the blue spectrum bothers them. Well, let me see, how do I want to say this? I can't give you a technical explanation. What I can give you are the references that I read that showed that this was true. And I'll make a list of references and make it available to you by email. And then you can know how I found this out and who those sources are. And all of those sources are university-led research projects. So they have a lot of credibility. And so I would be happy to share those with you. It doesn't really demand a technical explanation. You just can read those resources for yourself and see that it's true. So, Dwayne, are you coming back?
What, honey?
Are you coming back?
Yes.
Okay.
It just sounded like you were enjoying what you were doing.
Thank you, Corona Ken. He says this was one of the best bits of lighting analysis I've ever heard. Thanks for the nuggets. I'm always happy to do that for you. And hopefully I'll be learning more in the future about fish vision and what we can do to make sure that our fish are not laying their eggs, for example, because they're subjected to too much light. That can be a real helpful piece of information, couldn't it? So thank you all for listening to me, and it's always fun to talk to you. And I'd love to get to know each of you more, and hopefully I'll meet a lot of you at the convention in November.
Yeah, Chicago.
So,
Chicago Aquatic Experience.
The Chicago Aquatic Experience. Boy, that sounds great. So I'm going to turn it back over to my handsome husband, and thank you all for listening.
Help you up out of my chair. Hey, Sergeant Tank. Welcome to the stream, man. Hey, Dion. Dion, I know that you've done a lot of expanding your tanks here lately, and I've been following and watching it. And you're right. Sometimes the science of this hobby can get to be overwhelming. But while it can be overwhelming, I think, handsome my ass, I think that what you should do is absorb as much of the science as you can, and then back off and let it sink in, and then absorb as much of the science as you can, and then back off and let it sink in. This is not a process where you're suddenly going to become, this is like me trying to become a good photographer in a matter of months. It just doesn't work that way. You push and you push and you push and you try, but it is a process of time where the science sinks in and suddenly you have an aha moment where you recognize a situation and say, I learned how to deal with this situation because of the science. Spicy says, I think the science of the hobby is the best part, and I agree wholeheartedly. That is what continues to keep me engaged in this hobby, is that we think it's just keeping fish in a tank, but the science and the knowledge required to keep our differing kinds of fish thriving just opens up out from under you and keeps moving away. There is no way that any one person can know everything to know in this hobby. We can learn a whole lot of a broad spectrum of the hobby, or we can learn a very narrow focus like a species or a set of species. But there is no way that any one of us, even the people that we all consider experts, Dr. Herbert Axelrod, Ed Konings, anybody that you think of as a expert in this hobby will tell you without reservation that there are whole areas that they have almost no experience or knowledge of. So every time a new species of fish is discovered, Laura says, I always learned something from Elaine. A few months ago I wasn't aware of how much light affected us. I can't wait to learn more. Spicy says, yep, I would have stopped staring at these silly wet things years ago if it did not change constantly. Sargent says, science is all based around probability. The way I determine if resources are useful is when 80% or more of that for which is being tested is verified successful. Fish Life says, Corey McElroy, he is an expert. That's right. Corey is an expert because of his continued effort to learn more so that he can keep his fish that he's both selling and keeping better and better and better, in the sense of making them thrive, giving them the opportunity to breed. But even Corey, if you were to ask him, would tell you that there's a great deal about this hobby that he doesn't know. He's not a fishery scientist. He's not a master photographer of fish in a tank. This hobby is so wide and so deep that no one knows it all. Corey knows a lot. He is an expert in his own way, but even he doesn't know it all. Corona Ken says, when I started, no one even knew about the nitrogen cycle. Maybe the experts had an idea how to start a tank, but there was little science then. And you're right. When I first started keeping fish, the word that was used was mature tank water. That's what they called it. And I don't think that even they understood that what they even meant was that the water had cycled. Let's see. Dion says the science is the fun part, but not all the self-proclaimed experts that swear they know it all and their information is only right. Yeah. And some expletive deleted afterwards. Sorry, experts, self-proclaimed experts suck. Yes, and in a way, you're right, and you further down the line state self-proclaimed expert. Anyone can claim they are, get a doctor's degree. That's a real expert. That is greatly true, Dion. But in this hobby, hobbyists can also be experts without any degree at all. People that explore the world for new species and go to far-flung places all over the planet and search for new fish are also experts in their own way, real experts. People like Heiko Blair, they don't have to have a degree in this hobby to be an expert. So I would disagree with you slightly on that. Joel Gilliott managed to find a question Corey said he had no idea the answer to. You're making my point for me, Joel. Corona Ken, the early days of the tropical fish hobbyist talked about using some water from an established tank. Now we know that the bacteria doesn't live in the water. Ken, I hear that all the time, that there's no bacteria in the water. And while in the sense of enough biolayer to keep a tank running, that's true. But that bacteria exists everywhere. That's how come we can cycle a tank and without any fish or any seeding from anything else. That bacteria exists everywhere. It's so tiny that it's everywhere. It's in the water. There is bacteria in the water. It's just not enough to run a tank off of. If you take water from a cycled tank and put it in an empty tank, there won't be enough bacteria in that water to drop fish in and expect them to be able to survive. It'll go through another bloom. Experience of 10 plus years continuous is just the tipping block to get to understand this hobby. Yeah, Jeremy, I would have to agree with that. I know there are people that hit the ground running, like Charles probably doesn't have 10 years in this hobby yet, or he may. But I know that there are a lot of people that hit the ground running and pick up an awful lot very quickly. So the 10-year marker is kind of a misnomer in some ways, but in general I would have to agree. Jeremy says that he's an expert at sucking a lot through the years, and I concur, Jeremy, that I've spent a lot of years replacing fish that I've killed through my own inability to understand what was causing them harm. The haze is bacteria in my brackish tank. Yep, you're going to get blooms everywhere. Jeremy says he has to head out. He's thanking me and my wife for the great work and spreading much love. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get out of here myself pretty soon. The kids are supposed to show up, and we're gonna go eat at a. Where are we going?
We're going to a Japanese hibachi place.
We're gonna go eat at a Japanese hibachi place. And we've managed to run for almost an hour. So I guess we'll close this up. I had no issue to start with on this, so I hope you guys have felt like you've gotten some answers to questions or questions to answer in this stream. And I think that it would be wise of you to all check out each other's streams and videos so that you can sub the people that deserve your subs. And I think that there are a lot of them in here, and that you will find many worthy people frequenting this stream for you to go and sub to. So I would advise that. White's hoping that my wife and I have a good night, and I hope the same for all of you equally. So good luck, YouTube. And I'll be closing the stream now.